So my struggle with anxiety disorder started with stomach upset. For about the first 2 years, I had lots of digestive issues, stomach bloating, nausea, dry heaving. Went to the doctor numerous times. They did tests and said that everything was fine. They couldn't figure out what was going on, so we tried a bunch of different medications. They didn't work. And it continued. And so I struggled with stomach distress for about 2 years. And then I remember one night, my girlfriend and I were laying on the couch and just relaxing, no big deal. And all of a sudden, it felt like I dropped 2 floors in an elevator. Like just went whoosh straight down. It's like, what the heck was that? Of course, it scared me into panic. And as I reacted with panic, of course, that was my first trip to the emergency room. Didn't know what was going on. The doctors did a bunch of tests only to find out, it's anxiety. You'll be fine. Go home. And I thought, okay, well, that was just the weirdest thing, but whatever. I wasn't too concerned about it. And then I had another panic attack one night after some partying, and I couldn't figure that out. And I thought, wow, that's just weird. So just never mind. And I was pretty calm about it for the most part. My stomach continued to bother me over and over and over again. Again, back to the doctor and tests and things. Everything was fine. My doctor used to say to me, just go home and relax. It's just stress. You'll be fine. And I'd go home and I wasn't fine. I'd rest for the weekend and it'd still be bad the next week. So this went on. And all of a sudden I started getting a few episodes of strong dizziness where I felt like I was going to pass out. And I thought, well, this could be just stress too. No big deal. So I'm not going to worry about it. But then it got worse and worse, where these episodes got really strong and they lasted. Instead of just like a few brief moments, it'd go on like for about 15 minutes. It's like, wow, what is this? Of course, back to the doctor again, and he sent me to a specialist, and the specialist did a bunch of tests and said, well, it could be Meniere's or it could be vertigo. So, we'll just keep an eye on it. It's not too bad right now, and here's some of the treatments. And I thought, well, I'm not going to start treatment because I wasn't a big medication fan anyways. So I didn't do that. But it got progressively worse. Stomach was, getting more upset and more difficult. I was getting now waves of dizziness, and I'd do my best to let them pass, but they would just be relentless at times. And of course, back to the doctor, and you can start treatment. And I thought, well, I'm going to just, ride this out. And it got worse and worse and worse. Now, instead of having episodes of dizziness each day, I would have full days. So it went from, sporadic episodes to 24/7 dizziness. I'd wake up dizzy. It's like, oh, great. I have to go through a day like this. Now, dizziness for me was kind of episodic. I had 24/7 dizziness, but it was kind of mild through the day. I just kind of feel lightheaded and like walking on a boat and off balance. But it wasn't powerful spinning dizziness, but then you'd have episodes of that amidst the day as well. And then I started to worry, well, what if this gets so bad that I fall over or pass out? Well, then that just started another fear going. So every time I'd feel lightheaded, I'd be afraid of, this could get really worse. And of course, that didn't help. It just made things worse. And so it went from, small episodes of dizziness to stronger episodes of dizziness to 24/7 lightheaded dizziness, and then to stronger episodes. And that became the backdrop of my rest of my struggle with anxiety disorder. I was dizzy through the whole thing. And again, the doctor wanted to do these kind of things, and I tried a few things. It didn't work. It actually made me worse. So I thought, no, I'm not going to do that. And that's, over the course of time, it was so bad. Whenever I'd move my head, I'd get really dizzy. Like if I turned sideways, I get dizzy. If I looked down, I'd get dizzy. I couldn't look at things because even the movement of them would make me dizzy. Then I had episodes of dizziness in the car, and I thought, well, gee, what if I get so dizzy I have an accident? Of course, that started another fear. I couldn't go on elevators. The notion of going up and down would just really, exaggerate my dizziness. I couldn't do that anymore. Couldn't do escalators either because of the motion. I couldn't sit in the back seat of a car. It was brutal. And so dizziness became my primary symptom throughout my rest of my struggle with anxiety disorder. And it would be light at times where it would be really manageable, and then it'd be so strong I'd have to lay down. I remember one time coming home, my wife and I were coming home, and I was so bad I almost fell into the trees in front of our house. I couldn't keep my balance. I tried to keep it, hidden from most people. They really didn't know what I was dealing with. And so if you were to ask my friends if I was struggling with dizziness, they would probably say no, and that's because I hid it quite well. But I was really dizzy. And then, about midway through my struggle with anxiety disorder, I had a major panic attack and dizziness in a restaurant. Well, that ended my restaurants. I couldn't go to a restaurant because I thought, well, what if I go to a restaurant and this happens again? So that was it. No more restaurants. And then I couldn't drive because of the dizziness, so my driving was from my work, to home and back. That was about it. I know my family wanted to go to the beach numerous times, which was about an hour away. Well, there's no way in the world I could drive. Being dizzy, having panic attacks, and get to the beach. And there was a town on the way to the beach that was called Disley. And every time I'd get close to that town, it'd just remind me how strong my dizziness was, and of course panic attacks. So I had to go home. It was really a mess. And so, throughout my rest of my struggle with anxiety disorder, I had dizziness, and it was 24/7 for the most part. And then when I came across the solution to overcoming anxiety disorder, I thought, well, wait a minute now. If dizziness is caused by stress, like everybody keeps telling me, or Meniere's or whatever, I didn't believe it was Meniere's after a while. I thought, well, if I work on my stress, it should ease up. And as I started to deep relax, well, of course, that was another problem. Closing my eyes, I just get so lightheaded, I'd feel like I was floating and dizzy, so I couldn't close my eyes very much. But I thought, if I needed to calm my body down, I needed to work at this. So I started to work at it a little bit at a time. And as I'd be meditating and get episodes of dizziness, I'd just open my eyes, ground myself, and I'd, settle myself back down again. And as my progressive relaxation, unfolded, and I did it regularly, and I was faithful at it. I did it, twice a day, every day. My body started to gear down, and I noticed the dizziness episodes, the stronger ones, was easing off a bit. I still had 24/7, but the stronger episodes eased off. And so I continued to work at it and work at it and work at it, and over the course of time, a lot of my symptoms started to subside, including the stronger episodes of dizziness. And then I remember one day waking up, I wasn't dizzy anymore. It's like, wow, this felt pretty good. But then, of course, as I went through my day, I'd get episodes again, but I thought, no, calm down, not react. No, I'm not going to react to these things. Just let them come and go, no big deal. And I worked at it and worked at it, and eventually the episodes got less and less and less. And eventually, I got rid of my dizziness. But it was, I have to say, it was one of the most difficult symptoms for me just because of how impacting it was. Sitting there just being constantly lightheaded and dizziness and not really knowing when the next episode would show up that would, send you to have to lie down or whatever. But over the course of time, again, I got rid of the dizziness, and as I recovered in 1987, it was all gone. I had no more dizziness, and when I lived in Regina, I didn't have any episodes of dizziness at all. In fact, I didn't have any more episodes of dizziness until I moved to Calgary in about 3 years being here when we moved to where we are now, which we are at about elevation of around 4,000 feet. I started getting episodes of dizziness again. Of course, my stress was up because we were working long hours. But I thought, this can't be right because, it just didn't feel like the normal dizziness. And of course, only to find out that I have vestibular migraines now. Calgary is a city that is very close to the Rocky Mountains, and we have a lot of changing weather patterns, and those air pressure changes sometimes do create dizziness in me as a migraine. But I could, become used to them and whatever. They're not very strong anymore, not like I was way back, in those years of my struggle with anxiety. So dizziness can be really troublesome for a lot of people. Again, it's constant off balance, not sure when the next wave is going to show up. And so if you're dealing with dizziness, I understand it. I understand the difficulty. The keys for me were not to react to it. I realized, okay, I wasn't going to pass out. I had so many episodes of dizziness. I never passed out. Sure, I felt really woozy at times, but if I settled myself down and let the episode pass, I usually did. And even though I still had mild, the dizziness and wooziness and lightheadedness, I could still tolerate that. So if you're dealing with dizziness, reduce your stress. And work at it and work at it and work at it until your stress comes down, because as your stress comes down, like all the rest of the anxiety symptoms, your dizziness will alleviate too. I empathize with you. It's certainly an unpleasant symptom, was for me. So if you're dealing with it, you can get rid of it if you work at reducing your stress, not reacting, certainly containing your anxiety. And as you work at those three things, contain anxiety, reduce your stress, don't react to them, your body will recover in time, and you'll find that those dizziness episodes will clear off, and so will your 24/7 dizziness. Of course, I wish you every success. I don't envy you. It was a struggle for me, but I know you can get through it like I did. So I encourage you, again, contain your anxiety, reduce your stress, don't react to the symptoms, let your body recover in time, and it will. Of course, you want to reduce stress, reducing stress is vital. And whatever way you have to do that, and sometimes you may have to cancel a lot of things just to get your stress down, but it's definitely worth it. Sure, there's going to be some short-term discomfort as you work at reducing your stress, but the long-term benefits are well worth it.